It looked like any other city from a distance. Glowing lights, tall buildings, quiet streets under the night sky. Nothing felt unusual. Nothing felt wrong. But by the time the sun rose the next morning, everything had changed. Doors were left open. Cars were still parked on the streets. Dinner plates sat untouched on tables, and not a single person was left behind. No goodbyes, no warning, no explanation. Just silence. The kind of silence that doesn't feel natural, the kind that makes your heart race even when nothing is moving. So what happened here? Why did thousands of people abandon this city overnight? And more importantly, what did they know that we didn't? This city was once full of life, not just buildings and roads, but memories, laughter, and routines that people followed every single day. Families had lived here for generations. Children grew up playing in the same streets where their parents once ran around. It wasn't a rich city, but it was stable, peaceful, predictable. Shops opened at the same time every morning. Neighbors greeted each other like family. Evenings were filled with conversations, with people sitting outside their homes, sharing stories of their day. It was the kind of place where nothing dramatic ever happened. At least that's what everyone believed. Because beneath that calm surface, something was slowly building, something invisible, something people didn't notice at first. Or maybe they chose not to. It started with small things. Strange sounds late at night, not loud enough to alarm anyone, but just enough to feel wrong. Some described it as a deep humming noise. Others said it felt more like vibrations, as if the ground itself was breathing. At first, people ignored it. Cities have noises, machines, underground pipes, distant construction. There's always something. No one thought it meant anything serious. But then came the animals. Pets began acting strangely. Dogs barked at empty corners. Cats refused to enter certain rooms. Birds, which once filled the sky every morning, started disappearing. Slowly at first, then all at once. Farmers on the outskirts noticed something even more disturbing. Their livestock became restless. Some refused to eat. Others tried to break free from their enclosures, as if they were trying to escape something they couldn't see. That's when fear started to grow. Not panic, not yet, but a quiet uneasiness, the kind that sits in your chest and doesn't go away. Then came the first official warning. It wasn't loud, it wasn't urgent, just a simple announcement. Authorities claimed there was no immediate danger, but advised residents to remain alert. They didn't explain what the danger was. They didn't answer questions. And that made things worse, because when people don't know what they're afraid of, their imagination fills in the blanks. Rumors spread quickly. Some said it was a gas leak underground. Others believed it was a military experiment gone wrong. A few even whispered about something much darker, something that shouldn't have been disturbed. But no one had proof. Days passed, then weeks, and the city kept functioning. Shops still opened. Schools still ran. People still went to work. But something had changed. You could feel it in the air. Conversations became shorter. Smiles felt forced. Everyone was pretending that things were normal, even though, deep down, they knew they weren't. And then the incidents began. People started reporting headaches. Not ordinary ones. Intense, unbearable pain that came without warning. Some experienced dizziness. Others claimed they heard voices. Faint, distant whispers that no one else could hear. Doctors were confused. Tests showed nothing unusual. No infection. No clear cause. But the number of cases kept increasing. Hospitals started filling up. And still no real explanation. That's when the government stepped in again. This time the message was different. More serious. More controlled. They announced a temporary evacuation plan. Just as a precaution. They told residents to pack essential items. They promised it would only be for a few days. And that's when everything changed. Because people knew this wasn't normal. Cities don't get evacuated for no reason. But here's the twist. The evacuation didn't happen the way anyone expected. There was no chaos.
No riots. No desperate crowds trying to escape. Instead, something far stranger happened. People left quietly, one by one, family by family, street by street, almost like they had already accepted it, almost like they were expecting it. That night, the city didn't look like a place in crisis. It looked calm. Lights were still on in many homes. Cars were still parked outside. Some people even left their doors unlocked. It was as if they believed they would come back the next day. But they never did. Because by morning, the city was empty. Completely empty. No footsteps. No voices. No movement. Just abandoned homes. Frozen in time. Meals left unfinished. Clothes still hanging in closets. Toys scattered on the floor. Everything was still there. Except the people. And what nobody expected was what came next. Authorities sealed off the entire area. No one was allowed in. Not residents. Not journalists. Not even some officials. The city was erased from maps. Its name slowly disappeared from conversations. It became a place that wasn't supposed to exist anymore. But secrets don't stay buried forever. Years later, a small group of investigators managed to get access to restricted reports. What they found changed everything. The strange sounds people heard, they weren't random. They were coming from deep underground.
Far below the city. And they weren't natural. According to classified documents, there had been drilling operations beneath the city long before the evacuation. At first, it was just for resources, minerals, energy, nothing unusual. But during one of those operations, they found something. Something they didn't understand. Something that shouldn't have been there. The reports described it as a structure, but not man-made. It was massive, buried deep beneath layers of rock. And when they tried to study it, that's when the problem started. Equipment began malfunctioning, communication signals became unstable, and the workers started experiencing the same symptoms the residents later reported. Headaches, voices, fear. An overwhelming feeling that they were not alone. The deeper they went, the worse it got. Some workers refused to continue. Others disappeared under mysterious circumstances. But instead of stopping, they continued. Because whatever was down there was important. Or dangerous enough that they couldn't just walk away. And then, something changed. The structure became active. No one knows exactly what that means. The reports don't explain it clearly. But after that point, everything escalated. The strange sounds grew louder. The disturbances spread beyond the drilling site, into the city itself. And whatever was underground, it was affecting people. Not physically at first, mentally, emotionally, almost like it was reaching out. That's when the government made its decision, not just to evacuate the city, but to erase it. Because the real reason people left overnight wasn't just fear.
It was control. The evacuation was carefully planned. People were told to leave quietly to avoid panic. They were promised they would return, but that was never the plan. The truth was, they couldn't risk anyone staying. Because whatever was beneath that city wasn't just a threat to that place. It could spread. And that's something they couldn't allow. Even if it meant abandoning an entire city. Even if it meant leaving everything behind. And even now, the area remains restricted. No official explanation has ever been fully released. No one has been allowed to resettle there. Nature has slowly started reclaiming the land. Buildings are collapsing. Streets are covered in dust and silence. But some people believe the story isn't over. There have been reports, unconfirmed of course, of lights appearing in the city at night. Of faint sounds similar to the ones people heard before. And sometimes people claim they can still feel something. A presence. Waiting. Watching. And that's what makes this story truly disturbing. Because it's not just about a city that was abandoned. It's about a secret that was never fully revealed. Thousands of lives were disrupted. Families were forced to leave their homes without knowing the truth. Memories were left behind, frozen in empty rooms. Imagine waking up one day and being told to leave everything you've ever known. Your home, your belongings, your past, and being promised that you'll return, even though deep down, something tells you that you won't. That's the emotional weight this city carries. It's not just empty buildings. It's unfinished lives. Unanswered questions. And a silence that feels heavier than noise. Because sometimes the scariest part isn't what we can see. It's what we're not told. So the next time you hear about a place that was suddenly abandoned, a place where people left without explanation, ask yourself one question. Was it really their choice? Or were they told to leave before something else made that decision for them? Because somewhere out there might be another city. Another place that looks normal on the surface. Where people are living their daily lives completely unaware. And beneath their feet, something is waiting. Something that doesn't belong. And when the time comes, they might leave too. Just like everyone did here.
overnight.